Well, good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon, Jenny from the M1.
Good afternoon. I should just say to start with that I'm not driving. I am parked in a welcome break service area on the side of the M1, so I am safe to talk.
Excellent. Safety first, always. Remember that, folks. So, welcome to the latest episode of The Renny Show, which we have worked out is episode 21, which is very exciting. So, we've come of age. But it's more exciting because today marks the final day where we're launching as a proper podcast on all the podcast channels. So, a little bit after the show has finished, look out for our new podcast, The Renny Show, on all your major podcast channels. Please do subscribe. And obviously, it'll give you all a lot more flexibility about when you decide to tune in. So it's great news, isn't it, Jenny?
I'm so excited. Today is just the most exciting day.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
It is. And I've always wanted a podcast. So this is really, really exciting. And as you say, people can choose when and where, in what country they listen. So it's fantastic.
Absolutely. And of course, big shout out to Jen Southey, who has done all our podcast imagery for us, which we are really thrilled about. So do check her out. Citrus Design. She's been fantastic to work with. So that's brilliant. Right, on with the show. So, Jenny, quite a topical question I'm going to start with for you today. So, do you have a favourite podcast?
Oh, that's quite tricky because I love podcasts. So I listen to quite a few. I am a huge fan of Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. Okay. I do like that one. I also love Jenny Eclair, Older and Wider.
Yeah.
Are my are two current ones, and then I have a terrible habit of kind of just randomly going search podcasts and then flicking, depending on my mood of the day, which of course is one of the fantastic things about podcasts, isn't it? That you can choose, randomly and go, oh, I'm just in the mood for that today. And you can press on it and you can listen. And if you love it, then you've got lots of other episodes to choose from. If it isn't your cup of tea, then you can choose something else.
Fantastic. Lots of flexibility with that then now, which people now will have with our show as well, which is fantastic.
And what about you, Rachel?
So
what's your favourite?
I'm only really just getting into podcast listening, so I could really do with some recommendations. So obviously I'll take yours on board. And if anyone that's listening or watching has got any recommendations, please do let me know. One podcast that I've really enjoyed is called The Communication Guys. And it's these two fantastic chaps who sit and talk about the art of communication, and they have some fantastic guests on. And it's obviously it's quite business related, but you could apply everything that they talk about to any business of any kind that you're in, and they're just really great to listen to. A couple of American guys, and that's definitely one that I would recommend to anyone in business to have a bit of a listen.
Oh, check that out.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your first question for me then?
Well, it's a birthday kind of question because, as you said at the top of the show, this is our 21st episode, so coming of age, and I was wondering whether you have your coming of age party when you were 18 or when you were 21?
Ooh, okay. A bit of both. Sorry, I'm just trying to get it typed in so I can get it up on the screen. So really, I think it probably was the 18th because I had a really big party, kind of buffet and disco kind of thing, fancy dress, which was brilliant. I went as a sort of flower power hippie, and so did my mum, which was really cool because we had these great long wigs, and so that was probably the bigger celebration of the two, and of course at college at the time, so all the people I'd gone through school and college with, all my mates were there, all my family were there. You know, it was a really big special occasion. My 21st was probably a much quieter affair, albeit it was lovely. But that was, you know, it was a family meal, so it was close family. I had some surprise guests that I didn't know were going to be there, which was wonderful, and it was really very special, but a much quieter affair. So I think 18 was probably the coming of age, despite 21 perhaps being the somehow it's more coming of age than 18, isn't it? Somehow, but yeah, it was the 18th for me. So what about for you?
Mine was actually the 21st. I think probably because I was kind of had got quite a long way through my training. It just felt like, I think we did both, because to be honest, any excuse for a party.
Well, indeed.
So I think my 18th was with sort of school friends, and I hadn't started my nurse training in those then. My 21st included friends that I'd made through my, nursing friends. And so I think there were different additional friends, because my school friends were there too, but it was additional. So my 21st was the big, it was the big deal with the cake and all the candles and a big party. And any excuse to celebrate. We love a celebration, don't we?
Well, absolutely. I'm right with you on that one. I like that. So Vicky headed with us. Hello, Vicky. Thank you so much for joining us. And she says, I have coming of age party envy now. So sorry, but do let us know if you're watching what you did. Which was your coming of age? Was it 18 or 21? And maybe, Vicky, we ought to just have a big party just because we can. Because as Jenny said on the Renny Show, we like having fun, so let's just all get together and have a party. Maybe we could have a party, a Fab Business Club. We have parties there anyway, don't we? So we can just use that as an excuse to all party together.
We do. We have the Fab Business Club's second birthday party in March.
Exactly, coming up. Yes.
And then we have the first Oxford Fab Business Club face-to-face in April. So Vicky, there's quite a few kind of coming of age, either beginnings or celebrating age, that is coming up. So I think we can think of a few.
Definitely. And anyone that's listening, if you haven't heard of the Fab Business Club, set up by the most sparkly and wonderful Lisa Newport, then do put all of that into Google or whichever search engine you use, and come along and join us, because it's great fun. Vicky says she had no parties for either, although she got married 2 days after her 21st, so it sort of went by the wayside. I can understand that. I think you were otherwise engaged. Well, pardon the pun, otherwise engaged. Yeah. But I think you were pretty busy around your 21st birthday, so I can understand why you didn't have a 21st party, but then perhaps had a lovely wedding party and lots of celebration anyway, so that's a good thing. Fabulous. Okay, right. So, next question. Jenny, how important is it to understand your strengths?
This could be the shortest answer ever. Hugely. Very. But I will. Would you like me to elaborate a little? So
please feel free.
Yes, I think we often underestimate our strengths. There are a number of organisations that provide assessments so that you can find out what your strengths are. But I think the key thing about whichever you choose, or whether you choose to just reflect on them yourself, is that firstly, we all have strengths. Yes. Secondly, strengths are often linked to your personality traits. So they are often things that you find really easy. They come naturally. You love doing them. They fill you with joy. And often in our culture, we have been brought up to think that success should be hard work. We're always telling people how hard they should work, and how, you know, nothing comes if it's worth fighting, you know, if worth waiting for, it's worth fighting for, all of those things. We use a lot of language that makes strength and success seem like it's hard.
Yes.
So in my experience with many of the people I work with, they don't always appreciate that their strengths are strengths because they find them easy, and therefore they take them for granted because they think they should be working at something that maybe is less of a strength, but they should make it more of a strength because that's how they've been taught, rather than going, do you know, the strengths are the things I really love and bring me joy and are dead easy, and actually the things I don't enjoy and I don't find easy, I'm going to leave for somebody else to do, because somebody else will have those as their strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a fantastic example right there of conditioning, isn't it? And, you know, what we're perhaps brought up to believe. And in some cases, I was actually talking about this with clients last night. In some cases, you grow up believing that you should go into a specific profession, perhaps, because that's what's deemed to be the most suitable and equals success. But actually, that might not be where your strengths are. It might not be what you enjoy. So fast forward a number of years, and there are many people who end up in a position where they're not overly happy in the career they're in, because they're not doing it because it's their strength. They're doing it because they felt they should, due to kind of societal pressures and family pressures and things. So it's really fascinating, isn't it? You know, when you understand truly what those strengths are, it's really empowering, particularly for making those decisions and being in the place that you know actually works for you. So yeah, fantastic.
And actually, we do judge, don't we? I was just thinking, you made me think of a great example. I have a friend who is a fabulous musician, absolutely fabulous musician, and was told by people at school that music was a hobby,
yes,
rather than a career, and that they would be much better suited to go into banking or law, or exactly as a great example of what you just said. And of course, particularly when you're young, it can be quite hard to go, do you know what, I'm going to be a musician instead. I'm hoping that in this days of social media and opportunities and social media influencers, that it's maybe easier to follow your strengths and do what you love, as both a career and a hobby, or a hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings to mind for me the Ken Robinson book. The title's gone out of my head. The Element. When you find that thing you love that you're also really good at because it's your strength, when you find that and you work within your element, then the sky's the limit kind of thing. And there's some fascinating, I may have mentioned it before, there's some fascinating examples in the book about how people like Paul McCartney, and music was his element, but he wasn't always necessarily encouraged to do that. And it's really interesting to see the difference you can make for yourself when you can work within your strengths and what they are for you. Fascinating. Okay, so your next question for me then, Jenny.
Well, this is interesting. So you may or not be aware that I am flying to India on holiday tomorrow.
Very exciting.
It is the holiday, it's a dream come true kind of holiday that has been a long time in the making, and even longer in the waiting because of the pandemic.
Sure.
So again, a real celebration, and it is quite a long flight. So my question is, what are your top tips for entertainment on flights?
Oh, brilliant. I mean, yeah. There's obviously all the standard things, isn't there, that you can really amuse yourself on the TV screen with all the films and TV series and things. But I always like to take a book. That's, in recent years, I've started reading a lot more again, but previously I wasn't reading as much, and flights were the kind of, it felt like the one time where I really could sit with a book and just get lost in it. Although I do that a lot more now, which is great. But I like the traditional silly little games that you can play, whether it's card games or things like Left, Right and Centre or Never Say Die. Is that a game you're familiar with?
Oh, tell me about Left, Right and Centre. That sounds fun.
Oh, it's really fantastic, and it doesn't take up much room in your luggage. So it's a great game to take. We took it on the train just this last weekend. So traditionally you play it with pennies, but in the set you get these little plastic counters instead. Everyone gets 3 pennies, and there are 3 dice. On each of the dice there is an L for left, an R for right, and a C for centre, and black dots on the other surfaces. So you roll the 3 dice and you do what the dice tell you to do. So if it says, put 1 counter to the left, you pass it to the person on your left, 1 to the right, 1 to the centre, or whatever happens to come up. Or you keep them all if it's just the black dots. Well, the beauty of this is, and the reason it's called Never Say Die, is because even when all your counters have gone, when other people roll, you might get counters back. So it can, obviously it's not going to go on forever, but it's Never Say Die, because you will be able to keep playing even if you're out or feel like you're out. And it's a really simple game, so it's suitable for any age. And it's just, I'm quite old fashioned in some ways, I suppose. And it's a fantastic childhood memory of playing Left, Right and Centre with grandparents, and yeah, it's a fabulous game. So that's definitely one to consider.
That sounds. I love games. Yes, I really enjoy games, and I think that I know I'm not familiar with that one, so I thought I was quite au fait with them. So that's a new one on me. I shall have to go and investigate that, because it sounds
Excellent.
good fun.
Fantastic. Do you have top tips for entertainment on flights? What will you be doing?
I am quite partial to films, and I do enjoy reading. So I take a book, always have a book. The thing about books is they're quite heavy, aren't they? And I don't, maybe just me, but I don't get on particularly well with Kindle. It doesn't feel great. I use Audible. So if my eyes are tired on long flights, I use Audible. So I download some great books on there, and again have a mixture of business and pleasure.
Yeah.
And you can get great podcasts on there too. I also, what else do I do? I'm just trying to think. I often have conversations with my fellow with my fellow passengers. So that either goes well or not, depending on who they are. But I've had over the years, I've had some great conversations on long haul flights. Met some fabulously interesting and entertaining people, and the conversation is a really nice way, isn't it, of passing the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I must admit, I can appreciate what you say about mixed success, because not that I've flown by myself that often, but yeah, it can be really hit and miss with whoever you're sat next to, if they're a stranger, as to whether there's any chance of conversation. I've had some wonderful conversations on aeroplanes, and then other people that just not interested whatsoever. But there you go, different strokes for different folks. Okay, I've got a rather random, we often say that we talk about everything from socks to self-belief. So I've got a rather random question for my final question today. And that is Marmite, yay or nay?
I am a yay! I love
Me
Marmite
too.
because it goes with so many things, doesn't it? I
Yes,
love it with just toast. Toast and butter and Marmite is delicious.
yes.
I do like it with cheese on,
Oh, yeah,
Marmite and cheese. I think it spices up baked beans if you're having baked beans in a baked potato. There are
definitely.
so many uses for Marmite. So I love it. Absolutely love it.
Fantastic.
Although I did see recently um, that you can apparently it goes really well with peanut butter. I haven't yet tried it.
I was just about to say, funny old thing. For my breakfast this morning, I had toast with Marmite peanut butter. Um, I I don't know if it's the same if you just get separate Marmite and separate peanut butter and put them together. I'm not sure. I imagine it would be, but I've got the actual Marmite version, and I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. It tastes. It reminds me of dry roasted peanuts in the way it tastes, and I'm rather
Well,
partial to those as well. So,
I'll have to give that a go. Because
oh, do give it a go. Yeah.
I love I love peanut butter. Crunchy rather than smooth.
Oh, it has to
But
be crunchy. Yeah.
I can be forced to eat smooth if there's no other alternative available. Um, but I do, yeah. So I will have to give that a go then. I will.
Yeah.
I've kind of thought, not sure. Which, of course, often when we haven't had a combination of something that we've previously
Yeah.
tried, it can be easy to go, I don't imagine I'm going to like that. So we make a
Yeah.
decision without any evidence to back it up, do we? So I'm going to prevent myself from doing that, and I
Excellent.
definitely will give it a try, particularly as it has come recommended.
Indeed, indeed, and the power of a recommendation. And to Vicky and to anyone else that's watching, Marmite, yay or nay? What do you think? Answers in the comments. So over to you, Jenny, for your last question.
My last question was, I suppose it is a fairly random one. On Monday, I was out walking with my granddaughter, and it has been chilly. It's been a bit grey. I'm
Yeah.
not a huge fan of winter, and we were walking around the corner, and I saw this little clump of snowdrops, and I was just filled with such hope for the spring. They're such beautiful flowers, aren't they? So my last question is, what's your favourite spring flower?
Ooh, okay, I'm just going to pop that in there so that I can get up on the screen. Okay. I have a feeling we've touched on this before. And yeah, I mean, snowdrops are just beautiful. Because they remind me of snow, they're doubly lovely because I love snow. I appreciate you're not the biggest lover of winter, but I do love winter and snow and skiing. So snowdrops and that beautiful white colour, it's twofold. Not only are they pretty flowers, but it does actually remind me of snow. So that's really fantastic. Although that doesn't say a lot about the coming of spring, does it? If I'm thinking of snow, but I think I'm fairly simple in my spring flower taste because daffodils are they're just wonderful. They're so bright. You can't beat a really bright and vibrant flower, and because they come in so many different shades of kind of from real pale sort of whitey yellow through to the bright yellows and the oranges, they're just fantastic. I'd probably have to say daffodil every time. Yeah. What about you?
Well, I'm reminded with my grandparents, they used to take me and my sister to Daffodil Dell, it was called, and
Oh,
it was
wow.
probably only about an acre. It's a woodland, and I think it's farm daffodils, and they just had these amazing, stunningly beautiful, huge variety of daffodils. And as a child, I was just completely mesmerized by what felt like foreverness of daffodils, and you'd go around a corner and there'd be another kind of daffodil. So I do love daffodils, but I'm also a great fan of tulips for exactly the same thing. It's that infinite variety, isn't it? Infinite variety of and shapes, and you can get in some posh florists, you can get some beautiful frilly tulips, and they are frilly tulips. Have a look out for them. I'm sure that's not their proper name, frilly tulips. But
I don't know. I quite like that, frilly tulips.
But they are exactly that. They're very frilly, and they are absolutely exquisite. And again, I think it's the infinite variety of spring flowers. So you have an infinite variety of daffodil, don't we? We have the infinite variety of tulips. There are so many lovely spring flowers that come in lots of different varieties. Rather, back to our previous question about strengths, rather like human beings, that we are infinite in our variety, aren't we? And everybody, each is equally beautiful, just different, and we can celebrate the difference, which is fantastic. Oh, Carol says bluebells. Yeah, the color of bluebells is amazing. They are just, and when you go into a wood, don't you, when you just carpeted.
Where we used to live a few years ago, would always have. I think it was actually called Bluebell Woods, just behind where we lived, and it was just stunning with so many bluebells, because it just creates this wonderful carpet, doesn't it? Just such a lovely colour.
And it's
lovely pictures of the girl.
It's a particular shade of blue, isn't it? So it's that beautiful azure, like the sky. It's so lovely. And you can just picture, it's like crocuses as well. I do love a crocus. I used to live in Edinburgh, and in the middle of Edinburgh there is a park called the Meadows that has just masses of crocuses in that sort of egg yellow and purple and white, and they're so fabulous in their colourfulness, aren't they?
Yes. Oh, definitely. Fantastic. Love it. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our questions for today. So if anyone's got any further comments they'd like to make, then please do let us know, because as always, we love to carry on the conversation. And there's the doorbell. That's typical. So that brings us to the end of today's show. But of course, as of this afternoon, we will be on all of the podcast channels. So watch out. Please do subscribe. We'd love to have your support with that. And we can't really reveal all yet, but we're very excited about what's going on with having our first guest on the podcast. So watch this space. I can promise you it's going to be somebody very exciting. But we will leave it there for today and have a continued good journey down the M1, Jenny.
Thank you.
And we will look forward to seeing you all again very soon.
I am so excited about our first guest. So excited! I dropped my phone. Yeah. So thank you for the safe travelling wishes. Hope everybody has a fabulous day and enjoys the rest of the week. And we will look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks.
Fantastic. Take care, folks. Bye.
Bye.